Pastor Richard Seafried, and I welcome you to my podcast here today and from our home in Harrisonburg, Virginia. We've been studying together the 7 miracles in the Gospel of John, and we come today to miracle number 3 in this series. And let me read it for you. It's in John chapter 5. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up from Jerusalem. And there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind and halt and withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whoever then, first after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that he had been now a long time in that case. He said unto him, "Will you be made whole?" The impotent man answered, saying, "Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said unto him, "Rise, take up your bed, and walk." And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, "It's the Sabbath day. It's not lawful for you to carry your bed." Let me make several observations from this account of this third miracle here in the Gospel of John. First of all, this man was paralyzed for 38 years. This miracle was done in Jerusalem. Now remember the first two, the water turned to wine in Cana of Galilee, and the nobleman's son was also there in Galilee. So this is the first one that is in the southern portion of Israel, there in Jerusalem. It's specifically, the location was the pool of Bethesda. Once every year, God sent an angel to this pool to stir up the waters. Now there's a debate whether the angel actually performed the miracle or whether God did the miracle and all the angel did was stir up the water. At any rate, whoever got into the water first was cured of whatever disease he had. And again, the lame man, the paralyzed man, had been trying for 38 years. Can you believe this? He's lying by this pool at this season of the year for 38 years waiting to be cured. And of course, he couldn't get into the water because he was paralyzed. So Jesus comes along and asks, "Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be cured?" You know, that's an interesting thing. You'd say the obvious answer is yes, but the Lord always wants to make sure that people want to be healed. They want to be saved. You know, in our world today, you wonder why more people don't get saved, and the reason is simple. They don't want to get saved. They don't have a desire to have their sins forgiven and become a born-again Christian. And you see, that there has to be a desire. No wonder Jesus said, "Do you really want to be cured?" That is the invitation Jesus gives. Well, the interesting thing about this is the man says, "Yes, I do, but I have a problem. Every time I try to get into the water, somebody is quicker than me. They get in first." And Jesus now does an interesting thing. He says essentially, and this is a loose translation, forget the water. Forget your human attempt to get into the water. And then Jesus said, "Take up your bed and walk." In other words, the source of this man's miracle was Jesus, the power of God, not his human ability to get into the water. And that makes all the difference in the world. We're saved by grace through faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. And so the interesting thing here is that Jesus is trying to correct his faulty thinking. This man thought, if I could just get in the water, my problems would be over. And Jesus said, forget the water. Forget that. I have a better way. It's through me. You know, this same thing happened with the healing of the nobleman's son. Remember, Jesus basically had to correct his thinking too, because the nobleman thought that he had to get Jesus to go back to Capernaum, that Jesus had to stand right at the bedside to cure this son. And Jesus said, you just go home. Your son lives. And so there's a common thread here in both miracles, and it's this: sometimes our ways are not God's ways. Sometimes God's way of doing a miracle is totally different than what we think or imagine or suppose it should be. And so that's the case. Jesus said, take up your bed and walk. Well, of course, we know it's the Sabbath day, and this is then what stirs up. This is kind of like the beginning of Jesus's problems with the Pharisees, because it's the Sabbath day, and these guys go ballistic because, you know, this guy's walking around carrying his cot now. Isn't it amazing? They couldn't see the wonder and the glory of the miracle. They couldn't see that because they were so focused on their man-made religious rules. Boy, if there isn't a lesson in that. So many people today are blinded to the miracle of salvation because they're so, caught up in their religious traditions and their rituals and their good works and all of their little petty rules. And boy, there's a real truth in that. Well, this miracle then in John 5 is kind of like the beginning of a long-standing clash that Jesus now has with the Pharisees. And but the truth, the glorious truth of all of this is, and don't miss this, let's make sure that we can rejoice in the miracles of God and not be tied down to religious tradition. Well, I hope this Bible study today is a blessing to your heart. I hope that you are having a great day, and I just pray that the Lord will use this Bible study to encourage you. Encourage others to come along and watch this podcast. I hope that you're spreading the word and that more and more people will take advantage of this ministry. May the Lord bless you and just encourage you today. Have a great day.